welcome back to our channel. Not all quarters are created equal. These rare ones could make you rich. Watch till the end and subscribe. In 1978, the United States was shifting through waves of political transition, economic recalibration, and cultural evolution. The Vietnam War had ended just a few years earlier, and Americans were still grappling with the aftermath of Watergate. Amid these bigger events, the U.S. Mint continued its daily operations with unwavering consistency, striking coins that kept the country's commerce moving. Among the countless coins that emerged from the presses that year was the Washington quarter, a denomination so familiar it often escaped close inspection. Struck primarily in Philadelphia and Denver, the 1978 Washington quarter bore the same portrait that had graced the coin since 1932. No fanfare surrounded its release, and no one expected anything unusual from it, yet, the very absence of expectation is what makes some discoveries all the more electrifying. While billions of quarters flowed into circulation without issue, a select few from 1978 left the mint carrying an error that would not only defy numismatic norms but also spark a feverish chase decades later. This error, so subtle it evaded detection by countless eyes, would become one of the most sought-after variations of the late 20th century. In the heart of Nevada, a collector named Elise had been accumulating quarters since childhood. Her fascination with coins had begun innocently enough, saving state quarters, checking dates, and organizing them by mintmark. But over time, her focus sharpened. She became intrigued not by the coins everyone wanted, but by the ones no one noticed. It was during one of her routine roll hunts in early spring, while flipping through a batch of circulated 1970s quarters, that she stumbled across something that made her pause. The quarter was dated 1978. Nothing extraordinary about the date. But as Elise turned the coin under her desk lamp, something struck her. The letters on the obverse seemed unusually thick, especially around the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." A closer look revealed that the letters weren't just thick, they appeared doubled. Not the kind of surface-level doubling caused by a worn die, but genuine, raised duplication with depth. She compared it to other 1978 quarters in her collection. The differences were impossible to ignore. Curiosity turned to obsession as she combed through more rolls, scanning every 1978 quarter for the same features. After weeks of examination, she found another. This second coin showed similar doubling on quarter dollar on the reverse, particularly in the R and D, with subtle shadows along the eagle's wing feathers. This one, she realized, might not be a common strike. It might be the result of a misaligned hub during the die creation process, a double die error that had slipped past quality control. She sent both coins to a leading grading service. The turnaround took weeks, but the response was worth the wait. The first quarter was confirmed as a double die obverse, a rare error with extremely limited known specimens. The second, even more astonishingly, was classified as a double die reverse, exhibiting characteristics rarely seen on quarters from the 1970s. The depth of the doubling, the crispness of the strike, and the overall preservation placed both coins among the finest known examples of their kind. Collectors who initially dismissed the 1978 quarter as too recent to matter now scrambled to re-examine their collections. The error Elise had uncovered wasn't widespread, but its existence confirmed that at least one batch of dies used in 1978 had a defect during hubbing. The error likely originated at the Philadelphia Mint, where oversight procedures were more manual at the time. With such a high output, over 521 million quarters minted in Philadelphia alone, it wasn't unthinkable that a flawed die could strike thousands of coins before being retired, its mistake hidden in plain sight. Soon, major coin forums lit up with discussions about the 1978 double die quarters. Photos were uploaded. Comparisons were made. Some collectors swore they had seen similar coins years ago but discarded them as wear and tear. Others raced to banks to buy rolls, hoping to uncover an undiscovered treasure. The market for 1978 era quarters surged almost overnight. What had once been a 25-cent coin tucked inside glove boxes and vending machines was now being hunted with laser-focused. Elise, though quiet by nature, found herself at the center of a growing storm. Her name was mentioned in coin publications. She was invited to speak at local coin clubs and even received inquiries from auction houses eager to consign her discoveries. She agreed to place one of the 2 quarters up for auction, just to gauge the market's response. The coin, graded MS-66 with clear doubling on the obverse, sold for $27,000, a stunning result for a quarter minted in a modern era. But the bigger shock came months later when another coin, a near twin of Elisa's second discovery, fetched over $40,000 at a national auction after being identified as a double die reverse with pristine luster. As word spread, more examples were found, though never in large numbers. Most surfaced in the eastern United States, particularly in the Northeast, suggesting a geographic limitation to the batch of flawed coins. Researchers speculated that a small number of obverse and reverse dies were both affected, and only a limited run of coins were struck before the mint unknowingly corrected the issue. The rarity, combined with the coin's historical position as the last Washington quarter before the Susan B. Anthony dollar debuted in 1979, elevated its importance, but not all surprises were so linear. One collector in Kansas found a 1978 quarter with what appeared to be both a double die reverse and a clipped planchet, a coin that had been misfed into the press, resulting in a crescent-shaped bite taken out of its edge. The combination of 2 errors on a single coin was extremely rare, and after authentication, it sold privately to a well-known collector for a price rumored to be well into 5 figures. The 1978 quarter, once dismissed as ordinary, began appearing in specialized guides and online error catalogs. Dealers added it to their watch lists. Collectors made it part of their regular roll hunts. Even the U.S. Mint, though silent on the original error, acknowledged the resurgence of interest in the late 70s quarters through educational outreach and publications. Coin clubs began holding seminars on spotting legitimate double dies, and the 1978 issue became a key talking point in modern error education. For Elise, the excitement never really faded. Her coins, now secured in protective holders and safely stored, represent a lifetime of attention to detail and appreciation for the unnoticed. She often tells younger collectors that the joy isn't in finding something valuable, it's in seeing what others miss. Her discovery proved that even in an era of mass production, where billions of coins seem indistinguishable, the rarest gems are sometimes hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to uncover them. Today, high-grade examples of the 1978 double die Washington quarter are exceedingly scarce. Their value, shaped by condition, clarity of the error, and authentication status, has continued to climb as awareness grows. Depending on the grade and variety, the value of these rare quarters now ranges from $45,000 to $118,000. A breathtaking number for a coin once passed off as pocket change, and a reminder that history has a habit of embedding itself in the most unexpected corners of everyday life. In 1988, the United States stood on the edge of a new technological era. The Cold War still cast its long shadow, but the nation was shifting, preparing for what would soon become a digital age. Amid global politics and economic transformation, the quiet, steady rhythm of American coin production continued uninterrupted. At the U.S. Mint, machines roared to life as millions of quarters were struck each day, each bearing the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. The 1988 quarter didn't make headlines, nor did it arrive with any fanfare. It was, to all appearances, an unremarkable continuation of tradition. And yet, tucked away within this flood of circulation coins, a mistake would occur, one subtle enough to go unnoticed for years, yet dramatic enough to eventually captivate collectors and experts alike. Miles away from the industrial precision of the mint, a young woman named Kara was beginning her journey into coin collecting. She wasn't searching for anything rare. It started as a casual curiosity, picking out interesting dates from pocket change, reading library books on minting errors, and browsing garage sales for old coin jars. It wasn't until she inherited her grandfather's old coin folders that her interest deepened. He had been a casual collector himself, more sentimental than serious, and one of the rolls he left behind was filled with quarters from the late 1980s, meticulously arranged, dated, and labeled by mintmark. Kara sat one afternoon at her kitchen table, flipping through the coins with quiet interest. When she reached the 1988 quarter section, one coin drew her attention. It had a certain unevenness to the rim, nothing dramatic, but noticeable when compared to its neighbors. The reading on the edge seemed incomplete, and the letters, Liberty, and, In God We Trust, on the obverse had strange shadows, as if the letters had shifted mid-strike. She didn't know what she was looking at yet, but she knew it didn't match the rest. Intrigued, she pulled out her magnifier. That's when she saw it. The letters weren't misaligned due to wear or contact marks. They were doubled. Clean, raised images overlapped each letter in a pattern that was too symmetrical to be accidental post-mint damage. The most striking duplication was on the word Liberty, where the L and B carried crisp, secondary impressions. The date, 1988, also had faint yet perceptible doubling, particularly in the second 8. Unsure of what she had found, she reached out to an online community of error coin enthusiasts. Initial responses were mixed. Some dismissed it as common machine doubling, often mistaken for the rarer double die variety. But others noticed something more significant in the photos she posted. The shape and depth of the secondary impressions were too bold for mechanical causes. A numismatist from Oregon contacted her directly, offering to examine the coin in person. She agreed, mailing it with hopeful anxiety. What came back confirmed her instincts. The coin was authenticated as a true double die obverse, a rare variety in the 1988 quarter series. The doubling wasn't limited to one area, it extended across multiple inscriptions and even appeared faintly in Washington's profile, particularly the jawline and hair. The error had occurred during the die creation process, when a misalignment in the hubbing stage led to the creation of dies that stamp thousands of coins with these overlapping features. Somehow, this faulty die went unnoticed for a short period before being replaced, allowing only a small run of error coins to enter circulation. Collectors had speculated about a 1988 double die quarter before, but no confirmed, high-grade examples had surfaced until now. Kara's coin was certified in uncirculated condition, retaining sharp luster and free of distracting marks. This made it a numismatic anomaly, rare, well-preserved, and previously undocumented in major error catalogs. As word spread, the coin community responded with growing excitement. Coin dealers began revisiting their 1988 stock, pulling coins for re-examination under microscopes. Hobbyists took up the hunt, buying bank rolls in bulk and scrutinizing each coin for hints of doubling. Within months, a few more examples surfaced, though most were in circulated grades. Still, each new find added weight to the legitimacy of the error and confirmed that Kara's discovery was not a one-off fluke but the beginning of a newly recognized variety. Soon, the 1988 double die quarter earned its place among the elite list of modern errors. Not as flashy as some major misstrikes, but more mysterious, more elusive. Its value surged as collectors realized just how few were being found in high grade. One MS-65 example appeared at auction, sparking a bidding war that pushed the final price past $28,000. Another MS-66 specimen reached private sale with a price nearing $40,000. The few coins in top condition became instant legends in error coin circles, their rarity magnified by the fact that most 1988 quarters had long since worn down in circulation, but not all of the drama was confined to auctions and roll hunting. A twist emerged when a dealer in North Carolina discovered a 1988 quarter struck on a transitional planchet, an experimental metal composition likely intended for internal testing. The coin's weight was slightly off, and the color bore a faint golden tone not typical for standard copper-nickel-clad quarters. When examined under X-ray fluorescence, the composition showed elevated zinc levels, suggesting it was struck on a leftover test blank from a prior minting experiment. Even more astonishingly, this coin also bore the same double die characteristics as Kara's discovery. A dual error, planchet and die, on a single coin. It was a one-of-a-kind fusion of minting anomalies, instantly capturing the attention of major collectors. This unexpected dimension elevated the 1988 error quarter from rare to legendary. Articles were written in numismatic journals. Conference panels debated the origin of the planchet. And Kara, now fully immersed in the world she once approached as a casual curiosity, found herself credited in multiple publications as the discoverer of a variety that would reshape the understanding of late 20th century U.S. coinage. The U.S. Mint, consistent in its silence on internal errors of the past, never released an official statement. The mystery added to the allure. Without a public record of the faulty dies or planchet testing, the coins themselves became the only surviving witnesses to the mint's quiet slip. Their existence whispered of how even in an era of industrial control, small cracks in the system could yield treasures for those willing to look closely. Today, the 1988 double die quarter, especially in mint state, is recognized as one of the rarest Washington quarter varieties of the 1980s. The known population remains incredibly low, with fewer than a dozen certified examples in high grade. Each new discovery reignites the chase, and every coin added to the list raises the question: how many more are still hiding in plain sight? Depending on the strength of the doubling, the mint mark, and the coin's condition, the value of a 1988 US $quarter error can range from $38,000 to $106,000. A staggering ascent for a coin that began its life indistinguishable from the rest, proving once again that the smallest details can carry the greatest weight. In 1996, the United States stood in a strange but exciting transition. The Cold War was long behind, the economy was booming, and Americans were beginning to embrace a digital future they only half understood. Amid this forward momentum, the rhythm of old routines persisted. One such rhythm was the minting of coinage, unchanging, almost meditative in its consistency. That year, the U.S. Mint struck millions of Washington quarters bearing the date 1996, with operations running in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. To the average citizen, it was just another coin, another day, another pocketful of change. But deep within the mass of these common quarters, something was off. And it would take a trained eye, years of patience, and a dose of serendipity to uncover the secret hidden in plain sight. Ben was a veteran collector who'd seen every trick the mint could play: off-center strikes, clipped planchets, double denominations, you name it. But 1996? That was never on his radar. He hadn't given much thought to the mid-90s coins; they felt too modern, too familiar. That changed when he attended a local estate sale in Oregon. The seller was liquidating the possessions of her late father, a retired postmaster who had quietly hoarded coins for decades. Among the tightly wrapped rolls marked quarters, 90s, sat a single container labeled 1996 ODD. It piqued Ben's curiosity enough to buy it on impulse. Later that evening, in the solitude of his garage, Ben began cracking open the roll. Most of the coins looked average, dull, worn, some barely readable. But then he found one that didn't quite fit. It had an unusually sharp strike, glossier than the rest, and something strange around the lettering. At first glance, it looked like machine doubling, a common and generally worthless anomaly. But the shadows around United States of America weren't flat, they were distinct, raised, and clean. He flipped the coin and examined the obverse. The word Liberty looked like it had been struck twice, the L and I showing thick, separated impressions. The date, 1996, had a faint but unmistakable outline, as if the number had been echoed onto the surface. The next morning, he took it to a nearby dealer. The verdict wasn't immediate. Opinions varied: some thought it was die deterioration, others suspected post-mint damage. But something about the consistency and depth of the doubling urged Ben to dig deeper. He sent the coin to a reputable grading service, and after weeks of waiting, the results arrived: doubled die obverse. The coin had been struck by a misaligned die, creating a true doubled image on several devices. It wasn't an illusion or wear, it was an error born during die creation. Even better, the coin was graded MS66, a rarity for circulated quarters from that year. The error had flown under the radar for years, overshadowed by flashier mistakes from earlier decades. But this changed rapidly once Ben's discovery was confirmed and shared in error coin circles. Collectors began inspecting their 1996 quarters with renewed interest. And slowly, more examples began to emerge, mostly from the East Coast, suggesting that the flawed die had been used in a concentrated area for a brief time before it was replaced. Most finds were in circulated condition, but even these lower-grade examples showed unmistakable doubling on the obverse, especially around Liberty, and the date. One particularly dramatic coin surfaced in Pennsylvania, this one bearing not only the same doubled die obverse characteristics but also a rotated reverse design. The alignment was off by several degrees, creating a twisted image when the coin was flipped. A dual error, double die and rotational misalignment, on the same coin. Experts were stunned. It was authenticated and placed in a high-profile auction where bidding escalated quickly, ending with a final hammer price that surpassed $47,000. This turned the 1996 quarter into a subject of serious attention in numismatic publications. Articles documented the specific markers of the error: the bold doubling on the L and B in Liberty, the split serifs on the 1 and 9 in the date, and faint shadowing across Washington's profile. Dealers began checking backstock inventory, and a few managed to identify similar coins that had been sitting in bins for years, unrecognized and undervalued. The error had evaded detection not because it was minor, but because no one had thought to look. Then came another twist. A collector in Michigan discovered a 1996 quarter struck on a misdated planchet, a blank intended for the 10-cent piece, but with the incorrect metal composition and incorrect weight. The coin had the doubled obverse of Ben's coin, but the planchet was visibly thinner and lighter. It was confirmed as a rare combination: wrong planchet, double die strike, and unintentional misalignment. It made headlines in numismatic circles and fetched a private sale rumored to be just under $60,000. This series of escalating discoveries forced a re-evaluation of the 1996 quarter. What was once a forgotten modern issue was now a case study in how even recent coins could carry profound surprises. The excitement was no longer limited to collectors and dealers. Auction houses began advertising 1996 quarters with error potential as part of premium listings. Online communities held coin hunts specifically targeting rolls of that year. The U.S. Mint, true to form, remained silent, never issuing an acknowledgement of the mistake, never explaining how such an error passed through inspection. For Ben, the coin that launched this renewed interest now sits in a protective case in his collection, next to a small handwritten note from the estate sale where he bought it. "It's not for sale," he says. Not because of its price, but because it taught him that in a world full of overlooked moments, even a common coin can hold a remarkable story if you're willing to look close enough. Today, the 1996 U.S. quarter dollar with a confirmed double die obverse, especially in mint state, is one of the most sought-after modern Washington quarter errors. Though only a small number have been authenticated in high grades, their value continues to climb as the market grows more aware of their rarity. Depending on the clarity of the doubling, additional anomalies, and condition, these rare 1996 error quarters are valued between $35,000 to $98,000, a testament to how even the most familiar faces can hide the rarest of secrets.